What happens when one of the most influential businesswomen in America sits down with daytime television's most outspoken panel, and the conversation takes a turn nobody saw coming? Kim Kardashian's appearance on The View was supposed to be a straightforward promotional interview, but what unfolded instead was one of the most talked-about moments in daytime television history. Before we dive into exactly what went down, make sure you're subscribed and drop a comment below, telling us what you think about heated celebrity interviews. Now let's get into it. The atmosphere in the studio was already charged. Kim walked onto the set with her usual composed demeanor, greeting each host with a smile and a hug. The audience applauded as she took her seat at the table. Whoopi Goldberg started with the standard welcoming remarks, and the first few minutes were predictable enough. They discussed Kim's latest business ventures, her shapewear line, and her ongoing legal studies. Everything seemed to be going smoothly. Then Joy Behar leaned forward. "Kim, I have to ask you something that I think a lot of our viewers are wondering," Joy began, her tone shifting noticeably. "You've built this empire, and I respect the business acumen, I really do. But don't you think there's something problematic about the way you've profited from setting beauty standards that most women can't possibly achieve? You're selling products that promise to make women look like you, but you have access to resources that 99% of the population will never have." The table went quiet. Kim's expression didn't change, but there was a flicker of something in her eyes. She took a breath before responding. "Joy, I appreciate the question, and I understand where you're coming from," Kim said evenly, "but I think you're making an assumption about what I'm selling. I'm not selling perfection. I'm selling solutions for women who want options. Nobody is forcing anyone to buy anything." Joy wasn't backing down. "But you understand the influence you have, right? Young girls see your photos. They see your body, and they develop insecurities because they can't look like that. And then conveniently, you're there selling them the shapewear, the makeup, the contour kits. It feels like you're creating the problem and selling the solution." Sarah Haynes jumped in, trying to moderate. "I think what Joy is trying to say is that there's a conversation to be had about responsibility when you have that kind of platform." Kim turned to Sarah, then back to Joy. "I'm going to stop you right there, Joy, because I think we need to be really clear about something. I have never once claimed to be perfect. I've been open about the work I've had done. I've been honest about using trainers and having help. The idea that I'm out here pretending to be something I'm not is just false." "But you do edit your photos," Joy interjected. "You do use filters. Everyone knows this." "And I've admitted that," Kim replied, her voice getting firmer. "But here's what I don't understand. Why is it that when a woman builds a business, when she finds success, there's always this need to tear down how she got there? Do you ask male entrepreneurs if they feel bad about their success? Do you question whether they're responsible for other people's insecurities?" Sunny Hostin spoke up. "I think that's a fair point, Kim. But you have to admit that the beauty industry specifically does target women's insecurities." "The beauty industry existed long before me," Kim shot back. "And it'll exist long after me. I'm providing products that people want. If people didn't want them, they wouldn't buy them. But let's be honest about what this is really about." Joy leaned back in her chair. "Okay, what is this really about then? Enlighten us." Kim looked directly at Joy. "This is about the fact that you don't respect what I do. You don't see it as legitimate work. You see me as someone who got famous from a tape, and everything after that is somehow less valid. And I'm tired of it. I'm tired of having to justify my existence every time I sit down for an interview." The audience gasped. Alyssa Farah Griffin's eyes widened. Whoopi held up her hand. "Now hold on," Whoopi said. "Let's not put words in people's mouths." But Kim wasn't finished. "I'm not putting words anywhere. This happens every single time. I come on shows. I talk about my law studies. I talk about criminal justice reform. I talk about my businesses that employ hundreds of people. And somehow we always end up back at whether I deserve any of it. Whether I'm a good role model, whether I'm damaging society." Joy raised her voice slightly. "Because you have a responsibility, Kim. Whether you like it or not, you have influence over millions of young women." "And what are you doing with your influence, Joy?" Kim asked pointedly. You sit here every day and talk about politics. You give your opinions on everything under the sun. Do you ever stop and think about whether you're being responsible? Or is that standard only applied to women like me? The tension was palpable now. Joy's face flushed. That's completely different and you know it. Is it? Kim challenged. Because from where I'm sitting, you're using your platform to criticize how I use mine. The difference is, I'm not pretending to be better than anyone. I'm not sitting in judgment of how other women make their living. Sunny tried to intervene. I think we're getting a little heated here. Let's take a step back. But Joy wasn't ready to let it go. Kim, I've been doing this for decades. I've earned my place at this table through years of work, through comedy, through journalism. Kim laughed, but there was no humor in it. And I haven't earned mine? You think building a billion-dollar business happens by accident? You think I just woke up one day and had all of this? I worked for it. Maybe not in the way you think is respectable, maybe not in the way that fits your definition of legitimate work, but I worked for it nonetheless. Alyssa finally spoke. Kim, I don't think anyone here is saying you haven't worked hard. Really? Kim turned to her. Because that's exactly what it sounds like. It sounds like Joy is saying that what I do doesn't matter, that the business I've built doesn't count because of how I got famous. And honestly, I'm sick of it. I'm sick of being the punching bag for women who think they're better than me because they took a more traditional path. Joy shook her head. This isn't about being better than you. This is about accountability. Accountability for what exactly? Kim demanded. For starting a business? For being successful? For looking the way I look? What am I supposed to be accountable for that men in my position aren't held accountable for? Men aren't selling beauty standards to teenage girls, Joy countered. No, they're just running the companies that own the magazines that have been doing it for 100 years, Kim fired back. They're running the cosmetics corporations, the fashion houses, the entertainment industry. But somehow I'm the problem because I'm the face of it? That's convenient. Whoopi raised her voice. Ladies, can we please bring the temperature down? Kim took a breath and composed herself slightly, but her jaw was set. I'm happy to bring the temperature down, Whoopi, but I'm not going to sit here and be lectured about responsibility by someone who's spent their career giving opinions without any filter. Joy says whatever she wants on this show. She goes after politicians, celebrities, public figures, and nobody asks her if she's being responsible. Nobody asks her if she's considering the impact of her words. But I post a photo and suddenly I'm damaging the self-esteem of an entire generation. Joy pointed a finger. Because what I do is commentary. What you do is sell a lifestyle that's unattainable. And what you do is judge people for living their lives differently than you. Kim shot back immediately. You want to talk about accountability? Let's talk about the accountability of tearing other women down on national television. Let's talk about the accountability of using your platform to make someone feel small because you don't approve of their choices. Sarah jumped in, her voice nervous. I think both of you are making valid points from different perspectives. No, Sarah, Kim said, turning to her. There's nothing valid about what Joy is doing right now. She invited me here, and instead of having a real conversation, she's using this as an opportunity to put me on trial for existing in a way she doesn't like. Joy's voice rose. I invited you here to have an honest conversation, and that's what I'm doing. An honest conversation? Kim's voice was incredulous. You're not asking me questions. You're making accusations and then daring me to defend myself. There's a difference, Sunny interjected again. Kim, I think what Joy is trying to get at is whether you've ever considered the broader impact of the image you project. Kim turned to Sunny with exasperation. Of course I have. Do you think I don't think about these things? Do you think I don't know that people watch everything I do? I have 4 kids. I think about what kind of example I'm setting for them every single day. But what I'm not going to do is apologize for being successful. I'm not going to apologize for building something from nothing, even if the starting point wasn't what you would consider respectable. Joy scoffed. From nothing? Kim, you were born into privilege. And so were plenty of people who did absolutely nothing with it, Kim snapped. You think being born into a well-known family guarantees success? There are plenty of people with famous parents who end up doing nothing. I took what I had and I built on it. I created opportunities. I employed people. I changed my life and the lives of people around me. By selling sex appeal, Joy said bluntly. The audience reacted audibly. Kim's eyes narrowed. Wow, Kim said quietly. There it is. That's what this is really about, isn't it? You don't like that I used my sexuality as part of building my brand. You don't like that I didn't hide my body or apologize for it. You think that because I wasn't ashamed of how I looked, because I didn't follow the rules of what a woman should be, that somehow I'm less than. Joy opened her mouth to respond, but Kim held up her hand. No, let me finish. Because this is important. You sit here and you talk about women's empowerment. You talk about feminism. You talk about supporting women. But the second a woman uses her body, uses her image, uses her sexuality in a way that makes you uncomfortable, suddenly all that support disappears. Suddenly she's not worthy of respect. Suddenly she's the problem with society. That's not what I'm saying, Joy protested. Then what are you saying? Kim demanded. Because from where I'm sitting, you're saying that the only way to be a respectable woman is to do it your way, to follow the path you approve of, to build success in a manner you deem acceptable. And I'm telling you right now, that's not feminism. That's just judgment dressed up as concern. Alyssa looked uncomfortable. I think there's a middle ground here that we're missing. There's no middle ground, Kim said firmly. Either you respect women's choices or you don't. Either you believe women have agency over their own bodies and their own careers, or you believe they need to be protected from themselves. You can't have it both ways. Joy leaned forward again. Kim, I respect women's choices. What I don't respect is the commercialization of insecurity. Then take it up with every advertising agency in America, Kim replied. Take it up with Hollywood. Take it up with the fashion industry that's been telling women they're not good enough for decades before I ever showed up. But don't sit here and act like I invented this. I didn't create beauty standards. I exist within a system that was here long before me. Sunny spoke carefully. But you do profit from that system. So does everyone in this room, Kim said, gesturing around the table. This show profits from talking about celebrities, from discussing their bodies, their relationships, their choices. You profit from the same system you're criticizing me for participating in. The only difference is you get to pretend you're above it because you're the ones commenting instead of being commented on. Whoopi's voice was stern now. Kim, that's not entirely fair, isn't it? Kim looked at Whoopi. How many times has this show discussed my body? My relationships, my family? How many times have you all sat at this table and picked apart my life for entertainment? And now I'm here, and suddenly we're concerned about responsibility and influence? Joy's face was red now. We comment on public figures. That's what we do. You put yourself out there. You opened yourself up to commentary. Exactly, Kim said, her voice sharp. I put myself out there. I made a choice. I chose to build my brand the way I did. And you're sitting here telling me that my choice was wrong, that my way of doing things is damaging, that I need to be held accountable for other people's insecurities. But when did I ever take away anyone's agency? When did I ever force anyone to buy my products or follow my account or care about what I do? Sarah tried once more to mediate. I think what's getting lost here is that both of you care about women. You're just coming at it from different angles. Kim shook her head. No, Sarah, I care about women having choices. Joy cares about women making the choices she approves of. Those are not the same thing. Joy's voice was loud now. That is not true. I want women to be free from unrealistic expectations. Then stop contributing to them, Kim fired back instantly. Stop sitting here judging other women for how they look, how they make money, how they live their lives. Stop acting like there's only one right way to be a woman. Because that's what creates unrealistic expectations. Not me posting a photo, not me selling shapewear, but the constant message that women have to be a certain way, act a certain way, build their careers a certain way to be taken seriously. The audience was completely silent now. You could feel the tension radiating through the studio. Joy took a breath. Kim, I've been fighting for women's rights for longer than you've been alive. And I appreciate that, Kim said. her voice suddenly quieter but no less intense. I really do. But fighting for women's rights means fighting for all women. Not just the ones who do it the way you think they should. Not just the ones whose paths you respect. All women, including the ones who use their sexuality, who build businesses around beauty, who got famous in unconventional ways. We deserve respect too. Whoopi tried to wrap it up. I think we're all getting a bit emotional here. I'm not emotional, Kim said firmly. I'm clear. I'm very clear about what's happening here. Joy doesn't respect what I do. She doesn't think I've earned my success, and she's using this platform to try to make me admit that there's something wrong with how I built my life. And I'm not going to do that. Because there's nothing wrong with it. Joy shook her head vigorously. I never said you didn't earn your success. You didn't have to say it, Kim replied. It's in every question you've asked. It's in the tone of your voice. It's in the way you keep bringing it back to whether I'm being responsible, whether I'm damaging people, whether I should feel guilty. You would never ask a man these questions. This has nothing to do with you being a woman, Joy insisted. It has everything to do with me being a woman, Kim countered. And specifically the kind of woman I am. A woman who didn't apologize for her sexuality. A woman who built an empire in an unconventional way. A woman who didn't wait for permission or approval from people like you to be successful. And that bothers you. Sunny raised her hands. I don't think Joy is bothered by your success, Kim. Then what is this? Kim asked, looking around the table. Why are we having this conversation? I came here to talk about my businesses, my legal work, the things I'm actually doing. But instead, we've spent this entire time with Joy questioning whether I'm a good person, whether I'm responsible, whether I deserve what I have. Tell me how that's not about something deeper. Joy's voice was defensive now. I ask tough questions. That's my job. No, Kim said flatly. Your job is to have conversations with your guests. What you're doing is putting me on trial. And the crime I'm being tried for is being myself and being successful at it. Alyssa spoke softly. Kim, do you think there's any validity to concerns about the influence of heavily curated images on social media? Kim turned to her, and her voice was more measured. Of course there is. I've said publicly that social media can be toxic. I've talked about taking breaks from it. I've discussed with my own kids about the dangers of comparing yourself to what you see online. But here's the thing. That's a much bigger conversation than just me. That's about the platforms themselves, about algorithms, about how we consume media as a society. Singling me out as the problem is reductive and it's unfair. Joy wasn't letting it go. But you're one of the biggest influences on those platforms. And I try to use that influence responsibly, Kim said, her frustration evident. I share about my businesses, about criminal justice reform, about causes I care about. Yes, I also share photos of myself. Yes, I promote my products. But I'm not the villain you're making me out to be. I'm a businesswoman trying to build something, and I'm tired of being made to feel like I need to apologize for it. Whoopi's tone was firm. Nobody is asking you to apologize, Kim. Kim looked directly at Whoopi. With all due respect, that's exactly what Joy has been doing for the last 20 minutes. Every question has been designed to make me admit that there's something wrong with what I do. Every point has been about how I'm somehow damaging society. That's not a conversation. That's an interrogation. Joy threw her hands up. I'm just asking you to think about the impact you have. I do think about it, Kim said, her voice rising again. Every single day. But I'm not going to let you or anyone else make me feel ashamed for being successful. I'm not going to apologize for building businesses that people want to support. And I'm certainly not going to sit here and pretend that everything I've accomplished is somehow invalid because you don't approve of how I got here. Sarah looked at the camera, clearly wanting to move on. We need to take a quick break. But Kim wasn't done. No, I want to finish this. Because this happens all the time. Women tear each other down instead of supporting each other. We question each other's choices. We judge each other's paths. We act like there's only one right way to be successful or respected or valuable. And it needs to stop. Joy's voice was cold now. I'm not tearing you down. I'm holding you accountable. For what? Kim demanded. For being me? For not fitting into your box of what a woman should be? For building success in a way that makes you uncomfortable? Tell me specifically what I need to be held accountable for that other people in my position don't." The silence that followed was deafening. Joy opened her mouth, closed it, then opened it again. "I think," Joy said slowly, "that anyone with your level of influence needs to think carefully about the messages they send." "And I do," Kim said quietly but firmly. "But you don't get to decide what those messages are. You don't get to tell me that my existence is a problem. You don't get to sit here and make me defend my right to be successful, to be visible, to take up space in this world. I've earned that right, maybe not in the way you would have chosen, maybe not in the way you respect, but I've earned it. And I'm not going to let you or anyone else make me feel like I haven't." Whoopi finally managed to steer them away. "I think we've had a very spirited discussion here, and clearly there are different perspectives on these issues." Kim nodded, her composure returning. "There are, and I respect that Joy has her opinion. But I also want to be clear that I'm not going to be made to feel less than because my path was different. I've worked hard, I continue to work hard, and I'm proud of what I've built." Joy looked at her for a long moment. "I never said you should feel less than." "Maybe not in those words," Kim replied. "But that was the implication of every question you asked." The awkwardness hung in the air as Whoopi tried to wrap things up. "Well, this has certainly been one of our more intense conversations." Kim managed a tight smile. "I appreciate being here, even if it wasn't exactly what I expected." As they went to commercial, the damage was done. The tension between Kim and Joy was palpable, and everyone watching knew they had just witnessed something unprecedented. This wasn't a friendly disagreement. This was a fundamental clash between two women with very different views on success, feminism, and what women owe to each other. The interview became an instant cultural moment, sparking debates across social media about accountability, judgment, and whether successful women are held to different standards. And at the center of it all was one simple truth that Kim had articulated clearly: you can't claim to support all women while simultaneously tearing down the ones who don't do things your way. If you enjoyed this breakdown of one of the most explosive interviews in daytime television history, make sure you hit that subscribe button. And drop a comment below. Do you think Joy was asking fair questions, or was Kim right to push back the way she did? Let us know what you think.